Welcome to Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 252, Techs for Hire. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live calling show for computer repair techs. We answer your questions on running your computer repair business. Call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. The Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Ninja, the simple-to-use remote monitoring and management solution. Try it free at info.ninjamsp.com/Podnutz. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Brad Torrey from TTCS Computer Services. How you doing, Brad?
Hey, doing good, Jeff. Good to be back. I think this is the first back-to-backer I've ever done.
I think so. It's nice to have you back from last week. And as everybody can see, John and Chris are missing. Both of these were planned. They have family obligations. They will be back next week. But I contacted Brad, and like a trooper, he showed up and said, yeah, I'll do that. And not only did he show up, he actually brought the topic for today's episode, which makes my life a lot easier. And actually, it kind of dovetails into what I wanted to talk about anyways. So win-win.
Win-win. Perfect.
All right. So let's go ahead and start with a tip or story that people could learn from.
All right. I got two tips. One, don't wait till the last second to come up with a tip like I did just now. And but my second real tip is communication with your clients. People will shoot me over a question, and it's in my nature to not answer until I have an answer, like the real answer. But sometimes I can't get to the point where I can come up with that real answer right away. And so in their perspective, I'm just ignoring them. But really, I could have just said, hey, I got to look that up real quick, and it might take me a little bit, but I'll get back to you for sure. And that quick little thing would have put them at ease and saved me from, upsetting my clients. So just be responsive to people. Just get into a habit of saying, I don't know, but I'll answer you in a sec, and then they know that you're there. You're not dead. I literally have had customers like, are you okay? Are you in the hospital or something? I'm like, no, I just have social anxiety disorder. It's fine. So, anyway, that's my tip. Communicate.
That is good. And I think that is a great tip. And number one thing that most people, well, let me put it this way. Most people could learn to improve in their communication skills. So we'll put it there.
Pretty much everyone could probably take.
Yeah, I think, over communicating sometimes is not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you are letting your customer know whereabouts you're at in their computer fix and whatever you're working on, or like you said, the answers that you are providing them. Everybody wants everything instantaneous in this society. And the reality is that's just not the way it is, but that's what people want regardless. So communicate, communicate. All right. So let's see. I have a couple of stories, tips. I don't know, maybe some pontificating. I'm not sure. And so we've talked about this in the past where they don't do business out of their home because they have people show up without calling. I had two this week.
Oh, shit.
Never in the history of my business. Well, I take that back. One time somebody showed up on a Saturday morning. Twice. Somebody showed up in my front yard. I saw a vehicle, and then somebody was calling me on my business line. And I was working in the office. I kind of seen them, but I didn't know if they were for me. But after about the third time calling back, talk about persistence, I answered the phone. It's like, yeah, I'm waiting out here, and can you take a look at this? And I said, okay. So he brought it in, and that was my DC power jack repair. And the story that goes along with that, besides just the people showing up, in this particular case, that person was, unbeknownst to his wife, was fixing her computer, which was fairly beat up, but the power jack was pushed in, and it was blue around the edges, which means there was a lot of heating and shorting going on for who knows how long. But fortunately, it was one of those ones that wasn't soldered on the motherboard. It was a pigtail one that you could plug into the motherboard, no big deal. So I ordered the part, put it back together. He came, brought his wife. showed them what I did. And one of the things that I've only used a couple times in the past, but it's this Sugru, and it's like a rubberized glue material, almost like a clay that turns into like a more solid rubber. And because this power jack had been pushed in like pretty hard, it broke all the plastic around it. So it wasn't going to hold another power jack in place. But I took 2 packets of this Sugru that I bought years ago and rolled it up and molded it in there. So now it has this like rubber back. And this is also this stuff is non-conductive for those that are wondering. And that means that electricity can't pass through it. Just pay attention at home. So the rubberized material is sitting there, and now it's kind of this backstop, but it also has a little bit of give, which back in the day, I used to, and I was taught this from Steve Cherubino. Back in the day, what I would do is I would take a screw, and you could coat it with something or whatever, but I would come up to the bottom of the laptop to hold that thing in place, or maybe even make a bracket and hold the power jack in place.
Right.
But this stuff is like beautiful, especially for the cheap laptops nowadays. You drop them on the ground, they bust, all their plastic pieces break and all that. So this is perfect for something like that. So that was saved my bacon. And then I had on, what was it, Saturday, I had another person show up in my driveway. I didn't realize this was a house. Okay. So they come in and they had a laptop that they said was slow. A lot of things were going on with it. They needed it for their homework for the weekend. And when I told them they might not get it back for a couple days, they were like, I said, well, I don't really know what's wrong with it. So until I get in there and figure out what's wrong with it, then we can go from there. But fortunately for her, I had went in and there was a bunch of malware on this machine, but no actual viruses or anything like that. And Windows was still at its pretty basic state. In other words, it had Windows 8 on it, but she hadn't downloaded a whole bunch of stuff. There was some, I can't remember the name, but there was one driver package that was running in the background, slowing things down. And there were a ton of extensions inside the browser. So make sure, this is one thing that I learned a long time ago, make sure that you're checking the browsers. In really what I do, and a lot of people might disagree with this, I actually shut them all off. And worse than that, I do a hard reset on the browsers. Google Chrome, Internet Explorer. And the reason I say Internet Explorer is even if the person is not using Internet Explorer in Windows 8, Windows 10, Internet Explorer still has its hooks in the system, even if you're using another browser.
Yep.
So you have to be careful with that. You can get proxy settings set up in there. So what I do is I make sure that I go in and hard reset Internet Explorer. Now, there's many different options you can do. I've never had a problem with a hard reset. Never had a complaint. So that's what I do, and it worked out well. So I was able to get her laptop back to her in a couple hours, which was good because then I needed to go to work for the day, like for real. So it was an awesome day. It was an awesome Saturday. I went to work, and it was great. 2 computers done, and 8 hours of work. But anyways, that's my tip and story. But I'm surprised now. I don't do any advertising per se anymore. So I don't really have any of my ads out there saying call by appointment only. So I'm thinking I might want to put something on my website to say call by appointment only. The problem is a lot of times people do not read the whole website.
No.
It comes up, especially on a mobile phone, it's going to come up, and what's the first thing they're going to see? First thing they're going to see is my phone number. Second thing they're going to see is my address. They're not going to look at the address. They're just going to punch in their GPS and drive and maybe call me. So it may or may not help, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah, I have my home office, and then I go on site. So I'm either remote or I come to you. So I work out of the house, and so I've always had a PO box as my official business address. Never listed my home, and I will have people show up at the post office from time to time, call me, and go like, I'm in front of the post office, but I have a computer that I need you to look at. And I'm like, at no point in time on my website or anything that I've ever produced does it say just stop on by. Like, it always says call, make an appointment. We come to you. We work remotely. But Plus, I don't even list a business address when I can avoid it, only when I'm absolutely forced by whatever verification thing that you need me to do. But yeah, people just show up. And I understand why, but it's funny. I go, well, obviously I don't work out of the post office.
Yeah, I would, in today's day and age, I would always call well, not always. Most of the time, I guess I would call a business and find out a little more information, maybe instead of making a drive out there. And I equate it to this. If you go to a big box store, and let's say you want to buy something like right now, there are a lot of things out there that you can't even get at these big box stores anymore because their selection is so small. So instead, I could go online, I could look for it there, but really a lot of times, unless I can order it and go pick it up right away, it's not going to be worth it for me to drive 20 minutes to go find out that they don't have it. And I just wasted 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, and time in store. So for me, it's more of a convenience thing, but it is what it is. It worked out well. I was home both times, so it's all good. But yeah, I don't know how you temporarily or permanently avoid that. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break before we get into our main topic. And our show today is brought to you by Ninja, the remote monitoring and management solution to help you become more efficient, more productive, and more profitable. With Ninja, you can have a faster fixed response time and offer preventative maintenance to your customers, which is key to prevent those problems from showing up that you have to jump through hoops to make sure you fix. Ninja understands what you need to run your business, which is why their RMM solution is integrated with tools you use every day. Ninja provides competitive pricing, patch management, antivirus, email, SMS alerting. You can be up and running quickly with minimum training time. You can have TeamViewer integration for that remote support. It's one solution for managed and non-managed clients alike. Network visibility inside the RMM, see what's going on in their network so that you can appropriately figure out what's going on so you can fix it. Easy to read dashboards, which I really enjoy. I need something easy to read or I'm just going to graze over it and not see what's going on. A powerful device search where you can create custom queries and export the list to show your customers. A lot of customers want to see what you're doing and why they're paying you. So this is a perfect scenario for that. An executive style report showing important system metrics such as health score, software added or removed, hardware changes, and team viewer connections. Ninja's offering Podnutz a free 30-day trial, and when you decide to buy, a 10% discount. Take advantage of this offer. Go to info.ninjamsp.com/Podnutz. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our main topic, which was brought to us from Brad Torrey. And this basically goes around employees or going from a solo tech to having assistant tech or techs, hiring and managing. And Brad wanted to kind of talk about the managing of assistant techs or techs that you hire on in your business. And I want to take a little step back and I want to go into the first part of that. And I want to talk a little bit about hiring, what to look for, what to expect. Because reading in the different Facebook groups and forums, I think there are a lot of people out there that had these lofty expectations of an employee to be just like them, to be stellar, to be Johnny on the spot. And the reality is, just remember back, everybody's worked as an employee at one time or another, how good of an employee you were. And even if you haven't, I can almost guarantee you, you're not 100% in your business all the time either. So again, there's a human factor that we have to factor in. So I want to go over, I've made some bullet points and some notes, and then I want to go back and forth with Brad, and we'll talk about some of these things. So Brad, what are some of the things that you expect from a new tech if you just hired them on?
First of all, how dare you, Jeff, assume that I am not always 100% on the spot in my business?
Well, you know.
No. So new tech. I can't. I am not an expert. I brought this up because this weekly podcast is kind of my way of working through stuff. It's like my little therapy session, I say often. I have an assistant tech, and I kind of brought this up because it's like work. I've worked with other I've done like kind of like the business partner. I've done, you know, assistants before, and this is by far the best that it's worked out. It's always been kind of a disaster in the past, and so now I'm kind of like, oh, this is actually working out, cool. But yeah, you have to, as a business owner, you definitely need to have, you know, like we manage our customers' expectations, you have to manage your own expectations of what you're going to be running into when you have a tech. My entire life, I cannot remember not having a complete tool set for whatever the heck I was doing. Like if I'm working on, I got into working on cars in my like late teens and early 20s, and I got the rolling red toolbox, you know, Florida 5 feet tall kit. I had everything. I don't know why I need this tool, but it's something that works on cars. I'm going to buy it and have it. And then one day I need it. Awesome. I have it. It's like a random Saturday afternoon. I've got my carburetor all apart on the bench, and hey, I do have that tool. Cool. Like that's me. So that's what I expected. I go to hire an assistant. He doesn't even have a screwdriver. Like, are you kidding me? Not only does he not have like all the patch cables that I have, because my van's full. Like I walk into a place and suddenly I need a 5 foot, like exactly 5 foot long patch cable. Yeah, I got 5, I got 2, I got 6 inches, 1 inch. Like, what do you need? I got it. I roll it out. I got them all sorted out here. I got a DVI to DisplayPort adapter cable. Yeah, because that came up once, and so I put it in my bag. You need it? I got it. He's got a car. That's what he's got. So, oh, you don't even have a laptop because you've got a desktop gaming machine. Because yes, okay, fine, you're a nerd and you've got a gaming machine. That's cool. But now I can't send you out into the field with no laptop, no screwdriver, no USB bootable, easy to boot, you know, that I've gotten used to using. Like, he's got nothing, but he's really smart and he's a really good tech, and he's good with my clients. And he knows how to program like set up a sonic wall. He knows how VLANs work. I can send him out independently with very little direction, and he can manage it. But I was like, okay, so this, I had to give him a laptop, a company laptop. I actually gave him my bag of tools, and I had to go replace my bag of tools. But anyway, so that was thing one. He's not the first one I've run into where you're like, oh wait, oh, so you don't have to. Anyway, you might have to furnish company provided tools. Both software. This is what we use. Everyone talks about the challenges with some of the big box stores where they're kind of restricted to these are the software tools that you have to use. But that doesn't mean it's bad for us to provide guidelines. Like, these are the software tools that I like to use in these situations, and I'd like you to use them. And if you have a suggestion, totally let me know. But you know what I mean? Like, you got to give them. Like, I gave him USB sticks with software. Like, here is my easy to boot. Here is you know, my diagnostics tools. So that was one. That was like a huge thing for me. Like, I was kind of blown away when he didn't have tools, and he was the person that he is. But hey, you know, I guess that's normal when people don't have. I talked to some people, and they say, I know someone who manages an IT department for a large pharmaceutical company, and they provide all the tools. Everything that you might need for the job is provided by the department. It's like, oh wow, really? That's weird, because I've always kind of like mechanics. If you go to an auto shop, mechanics have almost always they have to provide their own tools. They all have their own little rolling rack of their Snap-on kit or whatever it is. So I don't know, weird to me, but came up. And stuff. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Let me say this, because as I was thinking about this and listening to you, and you're exactly right on the, you know, providing certain things that they need. I want to take a little bit step back and maybe a little different perspective on this as far as getting a new person in there. And one of the things you have to look at is you almost have to think apprenticeship, because there are people out there that might be very good at doing this type of business that maybe have never done it before, and they might be really good techs. They have the mind for it. In other words, in order to fix a problem, you have to have some sort of mechanical thinking process. That's how all problems are fixed. So if you have that ability, you can be taught how to hone that and make it work for any type of business. It could be working on cars. It could be building houses. It could be fixing computers. It all works the same. So when I think about what people want, a lot of people are expecting everybody to now, Brad, you're very fortunate. You found somebody that's very good as a tech, but he didn't have tools. Now you might have another person that has, maybe they do have the tools and maybe they do play around with them and they don't really know all the things that they need to do. Maybe they can't program a sonic wall. Maybe there are certain things they can't fix. Maybe their virus removal process is shoddy, right? So we almost have to think of this. If we're going to pull a new tech in and hire them, we have to figure out where they're at, how much they want to, how much it seems like they want to learn. And a lot of this is based on what I'll call gut feeling. In other words, you need to, as a business owner, as a person out there dealing with the public and people, you need to have this gut feeling that when somebody comes and they're saying, as long as they're honest, hey, this is what I really don't know a lot of this stuff. I'm willing to learn and I want to do it, but I need somebody to help teach me. I'd rather somebody come to me like that instead of going, oh, I know how to do all this stuff and then doesn't know how to do any of it. But we're the problem as business owners because our expectations are way too high for what we want. And I want to even take one step back from this and let's talk about when, and we'll make this really short, when do you need to hire? And I've said this before, you need to think about hiring when you can no longer, you're spending, I'll say more than 60 plus hours a week in your business. And you have no more that you can give to it. And you're actually having to turn customers away. Until you have to turn customers away for whatever reason, you probably need to continue doing it yourself. Or we're going to talk about some other options that you can also do, which might make more sense than even just hiring techs. So anyways, I think about the apprenticeship process and going back to, I'm in an apprenticeship program right now and I get paid a good hourly wage. And this is one of those unique situations where actually I have bought a lot of my own tools just because there's certain things that I use and need, but I was provided with a pretty good sizable cabinet of tools for what I do. And so a lot of that stuff is provided by the company. They're spending the money on me, but the end result is they want somebody that can come in there and do the job, which is basically fix machinery, which is what I do. So they're going to take that time and effort and money and put it into me, knowing that they're going to get something out in the end. Now, is this going to work out 100% of the time? No. Are you going to have people that might learn something from you and take off and go start their own business? Yes. This irritates me to no end. I don't understand a person that goes, well, I'm afraid they're going to steal my customers. If your customers can be stolen, they're not your customers. Get that through your head. They're not, because if it's based on price, if it's based on convenience, whatever it might be based on, if they change their mind at a moment's notice, that's just the type of person they are. I want the customer that when something happens, they pick up the phone and they call me first. If they're not that person, they're really not my customer. I might work on their machines every once in a while. And, when another situation pops up, they go and use somebody else. So that's my background on the whole, how we need to think about new techs when we're thinking about hiring them and what we need to expect out of them. So we got a couple different scenarios.
And as you talk about that, are they my customer? I've spent, the last 5 years cultivating that relationship with them, where they call me first. So how does the new tech kind of work into that, right? Because they're used to seeing me. They know that they can talk to me about all the things that they ask me about. And I want them thinking that I'm, the first person to call. for anything. I mean, they call me when they have like an electrical problem, and I go, oh, well, I'm not your electrician, but I got his number. I'll call him and tell him that you have an issue. You know, like they start calling me for random stuff that has nothing to do with what we do, but I want that. I want them to think of me first, right? So now I've got a technician who goes out there. I'm fortunate. He's personable and people like him. So I'm spending a lot of time now just kind of staying in touch with clients. And he's doing a lot more of the actual work. And that's working out great. Like I'm actually able to have a little bit more patience and like talk to my clients. And so that's the chat room prenup. You know, so now I'm kind of more being like ambassador to the company. And he's got more boots on the ground, and that's great. So but yeah, so that's one of the side shoots, right? Like what do you do when other people are doing all the work? Yeah, you start building the relation, you keep the relationships going, because that's probably why you were able to be successful in the first place, is that you were able to make relationships with your customers. And you have time to like work on business stuff, which is awesome. But so one of the things that are on my list is a very technical kind of very important question. So you got somebody else going out there, especially in like for business, because like a residential customer, they're probably gonna have like it's either a virus removal or maybe they need some Wi-Fi installed or whatever. Maybe you know a password or two, but for the most part, it's kind of standard. But in a business, like here's a perfect example. The other day, we had discussed and planned setting up a VLAN at a business site and having one of these network storage devices over on this kind of like Lonely Island VLAN and giving it this said IP address. I didn't know. My tech had a few minutes before he went to bed that he just felt like getting, being productive. So he jumped in there and he activated it. Like we'd kind of set it up in the background, but we hadn't talked about turning it on, and he turned it on. And then the next day, nothing to do with what he did, but we had an issue where I needed to get to that device, and it wasn't where it used to be. And so I know all this from memory because I know I'm weird. Like I can't remember your name if I met you 5 minutes ago, but I can remember that I touched that computer and it belonged to that person. It had that, like I have a weird device memory. So I'm like, oh, what? It's not responding. Where is it? And then I go, oh crap. So I jump into our site documentation and I see that it's been updated by my tech. He's provided the proper IP address where it's now currently located. I go ping that, it responds. Hallelujah, like the system's working. So the key now we talked about it later is like, hey man, if you're gonna make even though you just kind of like flicked a switch, if you're gonna make a major change to one of our clients' networks, shoot me a little heads up text. Hey, I just moved this thing to its own, unique VLAN in its own world. Like, yeah, just, maybe give me a little heads up. But he did document it properly. And by following our own little internal communication guidelines, I was able to look up the information that I needed. He had properly put it there, and that worked. So whenever I make a change to the network and we have to change some IP addresses around, I update those site doc. He's got access to that too. We're using Google Docs, so like we're a G Suite company, so we have Google Sheets that are basically our master like IP list. So we kind of spell out. It's a good planning tool when you're setting up a new network or taking over a network. Like this is our IP ranges for phones, for what we're doing for our printers, and then you can list everything you need and kind of like add passwords or whatever. Like we try not to put too many passwords in there because it's not really secure, but like it spells out your network. Like this is how the network works. We have one document that's kind of its original organizational method was IP addresses, but it becomes like the perfect source of that information. So now that was like our day one meeting when I'm hiring a new tech. This is how our site doc works. And if you do nothing else wrong or right, make sure that this thing is always up to date. And that is our communication tool. So communication in general, like all the anecdotes and everything aside, communicating with your tech is going to be like your, it's going to make or break the whole thing. So you find that way to communicate. We have Repair Shopper too. I don't think I would hire, I don't think I would have employees if I didn't have a ticketing system like Repair Shopper. Like how else could you possibly track time and notes and thing?
I agree.
Just you have to.
You got to have that. You've got to have that two-way communication through a ticketing system that's going to make sense. Or what's going to end up happening is you'll end up walking over each other in doing jobs. So
yep.
All right, let's go. And I want to take it back in. So we're talking about communication, and that's perfect because again, we could all use learning in our communication skills. But let's go back and talk about a little bit too, because one of the other things that we're talking about hiring an employee, managing them, what to expect. And I want to go back to the hiring process a little bit. And this is just what I came up with. How much money should you offer a new tech that you're hiring? And there's a lot of people that will base this on how much that tech knows. But if we go back to the original point, if you treat this person as an apprentice in an apprenticeable trade, so to speak, then that person might know nothing as far as fixing computers, but they're willing to learn and they have the mindset to be able to do it. And you should be able to do that. You should be able to figure that out in a short process. Man, there are a lot of people that go through a humongous hiring process and all these different steps to get to that perfect tech. Oh, and the reality is they don't exist. So just get that out of your mind right now. But one of the basics that I said, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but here is the starting point. And this is, in my opinion, if the tech knows next to nothing but is willing to learn and they're a go-getter and they show up on time and they do all the things that they say they're going to do to the best of their ability, I look at it, take your hourly rate and take 20%. And that is what they should be being paid even from the get-go. And there's a couple reasons I say that. Number one, I say that because do you want a loyal tech down the road, or do you want somebody that's just fly by night, here today, gone tomorrow, because you're not really providing them with a sustainable income? And I'm not saying, let's take the basis of if you're charging $80 an hour, it's $20 an hour. Just start off right there. And quite honestly, anything less than that, I really don't know what you're going to get. I really don't.
Yep.
If you're in, there's a lot of people charging a lot more. If you're charging $150 an hour is your hourly rate, it's $30 an hour. That's 20%. So now a lot of people go, well, man, that's eating into my profits. Yes, short term. But again, let's go back to the beginning and let's talk about, okay, I am turning away customers I can literally handle no more. And quite honestly, if you're at that point, you should have a breaking point of where you stop, where I'm working the max 60 hours a week to make X amount of dollars, whatever it is. You have a cutoff. And once you get to that cutoff and you literally are turning customers away, then you need to think about hiring. Now, short term, this is going to eat in your profits. Absolutely. There's nothing you can do about that. It's no different than customer acquisition. You think about what you spend on marketing, what you spend on advertisements. If you think of all the things that you do to acquire a new customer, there's a customer acquisition cost. Now, back when I was doing Google AdWords, my customer acquisition cost was about $25 a customer. Now, a lot of people go, oh my gosh, 25. That's everything included, all the things that I was doing to capture those customers and bring them to my business. It's $25, which if you ask a lot of people, they'll go, that's it?
Yeah, that's nothing.
It's nothing. That's nothing. And so for me, for me, it was eating into my profits where I was at that point. So when you look at what you want to pay that person, even just starting off, you gotta pay them something that's going to kind of hook them in. It's kind of like fishing. You get that hook in there, kind of yank it a little bit and pull them along, and you might have to teach them during the process. So stop going out there and trying to find this perfect technician that's going to do exactly what you do and is going to know exactly what you know with the years of experience you have. Now's your time to take that time and pass that on to a new technician. And you'll be so much better off for that. So long term, once you get past this short-term pain of losing money, you're going to be able to take on more customers. Now you're not going to turn away customers. And because of that, your profits are going to grow. And it's not going to grow just a little bit. It's going to grow exponentially because you've times yourself at least by times and a half. I'm not going to say doubled at this point, but times and a half. You've got another half in there, and that can take your business all the way to the next level.
Yep.
So these are things to think about.
Well, I had a conversation with my tech when I hired him on like day 2, not day 1, but day 2. I was like, I've pulled punches before with people and didn't express frustrations as well as I could have, and it ended up in a disaster. So just know, if I have an issue with something, I'm going to tell you about it. We're going to talk about it. It's not the end of the world, but it's something that like I'm going to communicate when something I feel is not going the way it needs to go, and then we will fix it. And if it's a problem and we don't fix it, then I'm going to cut you loose. I am not trigger happy. Like, I'm not going to just fire you on the spot, but we're going to talk about stuff right away and we're going to resolve it right away. And if we don't resolve it right away, like, it's not going to work out. So just know, like, that's how it's going to go. But also I pay him. He's very happy with the amount of money he's making because I don't want that to be an issue. Don't ask me for a raise because I'm already paying you like well of what you're worth, and you know it, and we both know it, and we're both happy with that. And money's not even a topic. Like, we're all happy with money, and so what we are talking about is tech stuff. That's what we're talking about. Like, how can we? And then he's excited to come to work, and everybody's happy, and that's awesome. And my customers feel that he's excited to be there, and he's not sitting there going like, "Oh shucks, I'm only making minimum wage, and I don't want to even come to this place." Like, no, he's excited. He's like, "Yeah, I'm getting out of bed because I'm making some money today, and I'm going to help my customers, and everything's great." And he's now got some kind of ownership. So, what else did I have on my list?
Yeah, obviously we go into the point of now we need to we have that person pulled on board. We're teaching them, or maybe they have a certain skill set that we're using them for to take our workload off of us. And here's the other thing, and here's why I say that your business can sometimes grow exponentially, or should be, when you actually hire a person on, is because you should be able to take the time. And I've said this before, as a solo tech, and I'm sure everybody out there will agree with me, marketing is awesome. For the solo tech, here is how we market, and here's really the only thing that you can expect from the amount of time you're able to market. We market in our downtimes when we're not putting fires out, when we're not fixing computers, when we're not raising networks from the dead. That is what we do. We go, okay, wait a minute, I need to work on my marketing. Marketing, in my opinion, is a whole separate animal. In marketing, especially when you're talking about social media and things like that, this really needs to be done by somebody like on a regular basis. It could be once a week. It could be twice a week. It could be every day. But the reality is, as a solo tech, we're not going to be able to do that. And Brad brought this point earlier where he said, now he can cultivate those relationships. Well, in the cultivating of relationships with your customer base, you can also take that extra time and do things like market. So you've taken the workload off of you and made your life easier and more freed up to do the things that really need to be done in a business on a regular basis.
Yep. First of all, I wouldn't be here today on this show if I didn't have an assistant, because I'd be fried. This has been such an incredibly busy, wonderful month. And if I was doing it all on my own, I'd be so burnt. There's no way I'd be on this show right now. I couldn't sit here and talk to you. So, yeah, and there was the first month and a half ish of having an assistant for the first time in a long time. Monetarily, it was a little rough, but I took that month to like kind of repair all of the stress damage, like I just kind of relaxed a little bit and let him just go do stuff. And yeah, I was paying him, and I'm right along that guideline. I'm right around 20% of our billable hourly, and plus mileage and stuff. And we weren't really necessarily making more, to make up for the extra expense. And it was a little rough for a minute, but I had a chance to like kind of relax and rest and rejuvenate and like think of what am I doing next. And then all of a sudden, all these like proposals that I wanted to put together that required me to sit down and like make something nice to present to a customer, I could, and I did. And then I sold that deal, and then now I have a lot of work to do, and it's great. And I have someone to help me. I'm not like the only one, because sometimes it's just being the lonely island, like the only one that can do this job. You're like freaking Superman, and except you don't have superpowers, kind of. I mean, I kind of do, right?
We all do.
but like I'm not invulnerable. I can still get sick, and then no, but I'm not the only one now, so it's fine. And now I'm ready to like either get close to figuring out how I can offer him a full-time job, because he is part-time right now, or whatever. Like I went through that there's that threshold of I'm just me, and now it's a we. We're a company, we're a team, we have employees, we have staff. Like now it's like you jump from 0 to 60, and all of a sudden you go, oh, who else can I hire? Because this is kind of great. Who wants to do my books? Because I don't want to do my books anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a good start.
And now from this process here, Brad, where do you find the time to, because I'm sure even as good as a tech that you found, I'm sure there are things that he could still use to learn and improve upon. How do we find time to offer that time to where that person can learn? Or are you finding that they'll kind of go learn things on their own and figure things out and maybe use you as a backboard to back them up?
I make a point to work with him about 50% of the time right now. And that's partly for my own benefit, because I kind of want to see how he's doing things and what he's doing, and make sure that obviously this is kind of like me. I'm learning. Like I've been a restaurant manager, so I understand how to manage people, but this is my first time really being kind of like a boss and being like a technical manager. So I'm kind of like teaching myself how to do this. So I'm spending more time with him than I maybe normally would maybe need to, but it's so that we both learn how this goes. But yeah, I'm there because he doesn't really need like the technical training. He knows almost. I'm kind of impressed because he's a lot younger. He's like 12 years younger than me. But he knows a lot of stuff. Like he's really smart. I don't know. He didn't go to actually like a school either. I don't know where he learned everything from, but his technical knowledge impresses me a lot. But sometimes it's like, it's not just the technical knowledge that I'm teaching him or imparting my wisdom on. It's more of like, so the wiring, the guy that pulled the cables did this, and we are going to have to fix something because his work isn't up to our standard. And that frustrates my assistant tech to no end. Like, that's not our problem. Whatever, he can come fix it. And I go, no, he did it that way, which means he can't fix it because he didn't do the work up to our standard because he doesn't know how or because that's not his standard. So we're going to fix it. We're going to build a client for fixing it, and they're going to be fine with that because they want it done correctly. We'll inform them that if they want the job done correctly, this is another person who might be able to do that work next time that we recommend, and that we don't have to follow up and do all the cleanup. But look, man, you're getting paid to do work right and make the customer experience improved. Like, we're doing right by our customers, and you're getting paid, and it's the right thing to do. So just do it and don't be mad. Why are you mad about it? Like, relax. I get the frustration. He's not young, but he's a little younger. And so anyway, so some of my coaching is more on that. It's more interpersonal professionalism. It's more, hey man, just roll with it. Sometimes it's we, like I actually have an opinion about a way something's going to be done, and we kind of have a conversation about it. But yeah, so we work together about 50-50. Or I send him out half the time, and I actually am with him half the time, and just learning how to kind of manage differing opinions on some things occasionally, because he's a smart guy and I'm a smart guy, but we're not always going to agree on things. But then when do you, as the owner, the boss, like I am, it's weird calling myself the boss, but I am. And when does that become, hey, do it my way because I say so? Or, hey, let's have a conversation. We're all partner. We're we're contributors, and I respect your opinion as a human being and as someone who I think has a lot of good information. And then sometimes like, no, please just do what I said. Just do it that way because I've already thought a lot about it, and there's reasons for it, but I don't have time to explain them to you. But understand that everything I say has a reason. Like, if I just say do it, it's not just out of nowhere. It's for a reason. So there's how do you strike that balance? And you just kind of find your groove and how you're going to do that.
And you're dealing with this as what I would call an apprentice. You really have an apprentice, because whether you're teaching them the technical side or the personal side, as far as dealing with customers and situations that come up, that's all part of the process. So you could have a person that maybe is really good at the personable side, people like them, whatever, and you might have to teach them the technical side. But it brings me back to a story when I was in the military eons ago. And there's certain things that you need to do when you're out in a battlefield. You bury garbage X amount deep, and you got to make a pit that's wide and whatever. It doesn't really matter. I don't remember what the specs were because it doesn't really matter. But the point is, I had a sergeant tell me back when I was a new recruit, and they basically said, listen, here's all the procedures. Here's why it's supposed to be done this way. Here's why we do this on the battlefield, so the enemy can't find your garbage and know that somebody was here, blah, 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 blah. He goes, but here's the reality. I go tell you to bury this garbage, and you just dig into the ground and you bury it and you make it look, you don't do the actual how deep it's supposed to be, how wide, how long, all this kind of stuff. You just bury it, you cover it up, you make it look like nothing's there. You're going to come back, and all I'm going to ask you is, did the job get done? And your response is going to be, yes, it did. So in some situations, that can absolutely be the case. Now, when we're talking about technical things like networking and things like that, that if somebody does it a little bit different than the way we're used to doing it, that could really mess us up if we have to go in and try to troubleshoot that process. So there is a fine balance between both, but I think it's good. And see, I think a lot of people, Brad, like you, a lot of people would not like you, but a lot of people out there, they basically are at this point where they want their technician to just be able to hit the ground running, leave them go, and pay them X amount of dollars and call it a day. Not only are you paying a decent wage, but you are going in there and you are also teaching them. You're kind of almost getting hit with a double whammy. But the positive side of this is, when you are teaching, you are learning the most. The teacher always learns the most. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
And here's the other good part to that too, is that let's say, as a solopreneur, which a lot of us are, let's say things like, I don't know, processes, checklists, different things like that we're supposed to be using that most of the time we don't, because it's all right up here in our heads. Think about it like this. This is a great time to get those processes and procedures in place. So with this first tech, so that when you have other techs that you're bringing in and hiring, you've got all that stuff. You've got the paperwork. It's all there ready to go. And so this is a great situation to be in all the way around. But most of us will look at this situation and go, man, but I'm losing X amount of dollars. Stop it. If you want to grow your business, stop about what you're losing today, because you will gain more tomorrow.
Yep. No, we have two, and I'm not even really I don't remember why I have two things. I have we made kind of like an extension of our website that is like our own little internal wiki, although it is publicly linkable. And then I have in our Google Docs, we have like notes on, this is the camera system that we like to use, and this is how you set it up, start to finish, like just stupid step by step. And I've been working on those for years, although a lot of it's up in my head, and it's kind of up. It doesn't always get up to date, but it's my own little notes that help me get. But now that I'm sending them out to a tech, I go, hey, I have a project for you, and I will go through it, and I will make sure that the notes that he needs to know are there, and I send it to him. And like some of my site doc, like my IP address things, they don't always get completely updated. Now they're all up to date because we're both on that, and we both are on each other. So look, if I do something and I don't update it on the doc, give me a dead arm. Like just let me know, because it's important that both of us are on that. I'm as accountable as you are in that sense. It needs to be up to date. And the same thing with all of our little notes. Like when some firmware update changes the process for how you set that thing up, go into that project doc and update that and like note it, so that next time somebody's doing it, maybe you, maybe me, maybe someone we don't know yet, they've got something to run across. And that's, you're right. Taking this time right now to like, is it what book is it where they basically instruct business owners to treat everything like a franchise, like you're building a franchise so that you can, but even if you're not planning on franchising, I read,
yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know exactly what book it is. We've talked about it on the show.
Sure. Exactly. Yep. I listened to it not too long ago on Audible. But anyway, it's that, you're trying to build a process that you could sort of hand off to just about anybody who's qualified at least to do the work, and they will follow the process and it will come out the way you want it every time. And then you can kind of step back.
Now, how are you prepping your customers for having to deal with somebody else? Or because if you're working with them 50% of the time, how are you setting it up so that transition can be easy? Because that's what a lot of people say is the customer just wants to see them and they have a hard time letting go. So how do you make that transition so it's easy on the customer, it's easy on you, and it's easy on the tech?
The process that I went by, and it worked out well, so I guess I did it right, is first day, I actually met, so I mean, I kind of have an advantage in some way that one of my larger clients is they have a chain of restaurants and bars. So one of our interviews, like basically what I kind of considered the final interview, was at a table in the restaurant where my customers in the back office is actually kind of like a secret corporate office for the whole company. So we sat down, we had lunch, we had an interview, went great. Okay, cool, you're hired, basically. Come on, or like, and I kind of made it, contingent. Make sure that basically it's like a trial. We'll do like a trial week, but I think you're fine. We go into the back. I introduced him to all the people that I interact with in that company. First off, right away, like face to face. Hey, this is my assistant tech. Shake hands. So they had a face to face, kind of me introducing them. I tried to do that. I did that for most of my customers, where he was introduced personally with me and him both in the same room with the customer. That was step one. And then we did a couple of communication things. I was like, look, so if you email Brad at TTCS, it will come to me. If you text my number, like you unfortunately do, it will come to me. And if I'm busy, it will not get answered. But if you text, or no, I said, please don't text, because that's dumb. Just don't. Why would you do that? That's not how we communicate. Like, if you need to, if I'm on the phone with you and you need to send me a photo of something that I ask you for, then yeah, that's when text messaging is okay. But if you text me at any other time, I have all the reason in the world to ignore it. Don't text me. But if you email support at TTCS, it will go to both of us. If you call the business number, it will ring both of our phones. And chances are someone will answer, because that's how the system is set up. Please do that. If you have a specific thing you want to target to me, yeah, email me. But if you just need help with something, email the company, call the company, and someone from the company will answer you, and they will be able to help you. And that worked out for about a month. And then everybody started calling me again, and everybody started texting me again, and everybody started emailing me again. So we're due for a reminder on that. But it hasn't been too bad, because I could just kind of redirect those things. I'll just forward an email. I used to have to take what a customer said and parse through it and figure out what they were really meant, because customers don't speak tech. It's like, no, you're saying a lot of things, but I just need to know this is either working or not, and how to fix it for you. I used to like kind of dissolve that into tech speak and then forward it. Now I just forward it. Like, here, you please deal with this. And we work together now, and I know he can handle it. Like, he can do that. So, but that was the benefit of spending a lot of time with him, and now I know what I could just kind of like just throw at him, and he's fine.
See, I like that, and I like your process as far as it sounds like your hiring process, and we can go through that real quick if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Of what you did to hire this person. But it sounds like you just had a very simplified process, kind of getting to know him, understanding what his strengths and weaknesses were. The problem is with a lot of other business owners out there, here's what I see. What battery of tests can I bring forward to treat you like an animal so that you can jump through the hoops with the flaming fire, and so I can know that I need to hire you? It's like, are you kidding me? Stop. Human beings are human beings. They're not animals to be trained. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
And so you need to have this. It comes back to relationship, which we talk about in the show all the time. Relationship with your customer, relationship with your employees. These are key things. And here's where a lot of businesses are missing it. Some have it knocked out of the park. They got everything going on when it comes to relationship with their customers and employees. Other businesses, they are just so far out in left field, they can't even figure out how they need to do something, because their brain just doesn't work that way for some reason. Like, no, we must robotically do this to get this result. Stop it. You're a human being. So what was your hiring process for this particular technician that you hired?
Totally making this up as I went. Kind of.
That's probably the best way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I like to adapt, right? So I did some. Now, I had planned on using something like Monster, whatever, going online and screening and hiring and not doing Craigslist. But I was like, you know what? For some reason, I feel like Craigslist is going to work out this time. And against all Einstein's definition of insanity, do the same thing and expect different results, I did it anyway. I got a lot of stupid responses. I got one resume. I got a lot of responses, and people, and I got one guy who was like, "I'm the best." That was like his only line in his email was, "I'm the best. You need to hire me." And I was like, "Nope."
Compared to what?
Yeah. I'm like, well, the best person would have attached a resume to a job inquiry, but okay. Anyway, so I got one resume, and it was the person I ended up hiring. I looked at his resume. I was like, oh, that is perfect. You're not overqualified, or I can't afford you. You are not underqualified, and you don't sound crazy. So I got one person. I didn't interview anyone else. And I talked to him on the phone for a little bit. He didn't sound crazy still. Okay. Mostly right now I'm going for not crazy.
There you go. That's good, especially in California.
Yeah. Hey, he's from Oregon. Okay. Which actually was a benefit. He said he was from Oregon. I'm like, oh, you're not from California?
Awesome.
Plus one. So and I talked to him. We seem to kind of I don't need to be his best friend, but we need to kind of get along. So
Sure.
I didn't even really ask him hardly any technical questions. I just started asking about his day and where he's worked and stuff. I just want to hear him talk. Can you talk to people? Can you talk to my customers? Can I have a conversation with you? And then when I got a feel for the fact, and plus, so when you're talking to a tech person, you're on is kind of an interview. They're going to dump out all their technical knowledge. You're not going to get a choice. They're expecting you to ask them all those questions, so they're going to tell you all those things. So they're going to tell you that they know how to work with SonicWall and that they've programmed Meraki Wi-Fi devices and that they've set up VLANs and they've done domain server blah blah blah. Yeah, I know. Okay, cool. Yeah, we can learn all that. That's fine. I want to know if you're crazy or not. That's really what I need. You need to have a car. I need you to be able to drive to the place and not freak my customer out. That's what I need you to do. Everything else is I can either get on the phone with you, we can do a Skype call, whatever. We can work on everything else. Are you crazy? No. Okay. Moving on. So then we met. We met up at this restaurant and we had lunch. And at the end of the lunch, I was like, okay, so just what I just said right now, all the things about not being crazy, can we get along? Those are all things that were important to me. And I feel like we've sort of passed that part of the test, right? So now I need to make sure that my customers don't hate you. I'm going to go around. We're going to have this week to work on a few things together. And I'll introduce you to my customers. I'll sort of, we have a couple of things that we need fixed or people are asking me to help them figure out. And I'm going to kind of step back and let you do it. And then full disclosure, I'm going to go around afterwards and I'm going to ask everybody if you were creepy or if you were cool. That's how we're going to do this. And they're going to tell me because they're honest with me because I know them well. And then I'll give you an official letter of job offer and we'll go from there. Everybody liked him. They were like, yeah, he's cool. He's got a lot of energy. This guy's got a lot of energy, in a funny, wow, a lot of energy. But we like him. And he was able to do all the things that I asked him to do in the amount of time that I expected it to take him. He showed somebody how to set up. I don't even remember what it was. Something on a web portal, but it was it was less technical and more customer interaction. Show them how they can do something. So that was a great opportunity to show how we worked with people. So I observed, and then I got feedback, and then I hired him, and I sent him a formal letter of hire with what the pay was, when to expect to get paid, how much mileage was going to be, kind of specific, what you're allowed. I didn't get too crazy with the details, but I outlined moonlighting in there a little bit. I don't want you taking side work from our customers. And if you're doing anything related to what our business does, we're going to discuss it first. And I may or may not allow you to do it. Please don't date clients. A couple of things, just outlined in there.
Sure.
And I sent that over to him, and he accepted, and it worked out. And he and actually, 3 days later, I went on a 10-day long family trip that was kind of unavoidable because there was a death in the family, and we wanted to go visit and do all that. And so I was like, I gotta go, and I have to be gone for 10 days. So have fun, bye. and where we were, the internet was terrible. I was expecting to have daily access to the internet and be able to work from the road. And it turned out that I didn't. I was kind of offline for like 10 straight days, and I kind of panicked, but I kept calling him every day and going, like, hey, how's it going? And he's like, yeah, I did this, that, and the other thing, and everything's fine. I'm like, oh, well, that certainly worked out way better than it was supposed to. And then from then on, we've been, everything's been great. There's a few little adjustments. Hey, I wish that you had done that. Hey, when you get done with a job, please communicate that you're done with me. Just shoot me a text. Hey, I'm done. I'm leaving. When you turn on a VLAN, let me know that you did that. Thank you for documenting it, though. Prevented a major catastrophe. Anyway, but the process has been that. We're not friends. You don't come to my house, but we have a very good interpersonal working relationship, and we're cool. And that's kind of what we've been working towards.
I think that's great. And I think you have the proper approach, whether you went to Craigslist or not. Again, it's just parsing through people. And for people that are looking for somebody, here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand about Craigslist. There are multi-bazillionaires. Maybe that's a little stretch. There are people of all different statures as far as monetary that go on Craigslist daily looking for deals, looking for information. You wouldn't believe how many houses are sold on Craigslist. Legitimate, from mansions to small houses. It's a legitimate service. It's just you've got to be able to parse through the crazy to get to the gem that's going to be in any of those areas. So, that's a great approach. And you did it more, what I would say, organically. Here, little doggy, jump to the soup. Okay, you did that. Now let's move on to the next thing. Okay, now I want you to roll over. All right, good job. Here's your treat. It's like, come on. So I really like your approach, and I really like how you laid it out. And you just made it very, very real as far as, especially for us that are working out of our homes. Maybe we don't have a brick and mortar. But I think you can apply this to even brick and mortar. I think you can apply this to when you're doing that first hire. I would imagine, and from what I've been told from others, the hiring process gets a little bit easier once you have other employees in place that are able to teach those new employees coming in. Now, sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. And maybe it's going to be an approach down the road that we think, well, let me teach them the proper way to do it, because obviously they're going to adapt and overcome on their own once I am not with them and it's human nature. They're going to do what they want to do. Now, let me preface this all by saying that, listen, a lot of people expect 100%, 90%, 80% out of their tools, out of their employees, out of their ticketing system, whatever, you name it, they expect 100%, either plumber, whatever. Here is the thing. And once you realize this, and once you understand this, you will be able to sleep better at night, and you will understand that not everything is going to be exactly the way you want it, and that's okay. Here is my rule of thumb, and this has worked for me for the past 40 some odd years. You can expect out of any of these things, whether it's an employee, software, hardware, tools, whatever, you can expect about 70% out of that. If you get more than 70%, yay, good for you. But the reality is, most of the time, if you set your expectations at about 70%, things will not frustrate you as much as they used to. Now, Brad, would you agree with that? About 70% is kind of where you're looking at with most things?
Yeah, there's like some times that I've quoted a specific, I try not to do too many, set price projects, but we do that sometimes. People ask for an estimate, and we provide them with one. And so let's say I've said something's going to take an hour, and the customer's expecting to be billed for an hour, but it took Josh an hour and a half. I still billed them for an hour. So I took a little bit of a loss there. But you know what? I was doing something else while he was doing that thing, and I was billing for that time. So, okay, I lost, $10 or something on that. Okay, fine. I made $100 over here. So fine, no problem. Like I expect that to happen sometimes. And sometimes it takes him 15 minutes to do something that I can actually bill an hour for because of the way the arrangement worked out. So I may it up there too. Like just the fact that he's doing something, generally he's doing it right and he's doing it on my behalf, and I can go off and either do work, spend time with my family, or be talking face to face to a customer in a relaxed, hey, we're having a great little just chat, or watching TV, whatever it is. He allows those things to happen, and that's what is the real benefit. And if I lose a little on his hourly rate here or there, I'm making up for it in a million other ways. So it's totally like I actually want to go, like I do little, like we grab lunch. I bring him food. Like I'm just like, dude, you're this. Thank you for existing. Like you're the greatest. He knows that he's appreciated, and I want to make sure that that's always the case because him and I think as a business owner, my job's always going to be spending this much, maybe not this much time, but like a similar amount of time and effort on hiring. I think I will always want to be the one hiring and introducing people to the company and the process and the customers, because then I get to be the one that kind of sets the tone for the culture of how we exist, instead of letting someone else do that. Because you are all like, if let's say I have like 20, I don't think I will ever have 20 employees, but let's say I have 20 employees. They're all like the face of me now, and I want to at least be the one that starts that off, right?
Right. Exactly.
Or so yeah.
No, I think this has been good information, and we could probably go on longer in much more detail, but I think this is a good starting place for a lot of people to have a better understanding of what you're looking for, when to look for it, and how you're going to deal with these things if they do come up. Because there are certain people that will remain solopreneurs, solo techs, because they enjoy it. They're going to do X amount of hours a week. They make a good living at it, and it's fine. Then there's other people who, and maybe they use subcontractors. We didn't really get into that. There are other jobs that you could actually offer for if you want to be the tech that's got your hands on everything and you don't want to take the time to teach another tech. You could hire an office manager, probably for a fair bit cheaper too. And because, again, you're looking for a personable person that can just talk to customers as they walk in the door or whatever, and then you're in the back doing the tech work, doing what you need to do. The problem is a lot of us have this spider monkey mentality. And for those who don't watch the Animal Channel, if you ever want to catch a spider monkey, and I think I've said this before, you basically take a hole that a spider monkey can fit their hand into, and you put a little peanut or something in there. And what ends up happening is they reach into this tiny hole and they grab a hold of that peanut, but the hole is not big enough for their hand as a fist, a clenched fist, to come back out. And that is how they get captured, because they won't let go of the little nut and get their freedom. They will just sit there and try to pull their fist out of the small hole, which doesn't work. So think about that, a mental picture for you and your business. Hopefully it's something you can learn from. And hopefully we've shared enough information here to get you along that path of making the decisions you need to make in order to grow your business, however you choose to do it. Let's go ahead and take another quick break. And then I think we've got a voicemail and email. We'll go ahead and get those out of the way. Let's see. If you guys want to support what we're doing here, we appreciate everybody's support. You can go to patreon.com/computer repair podcast. And I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for your continued support. And as part of that support, here before, hopefully I get everything set up by November 1st is my goal, to have the secret Facebook group set up where if you are a Patreon supporter, you will have access to that group where you can ask questions, talk about the podcast, get different ideas, share ideas amongst ourselves, and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that'll be a benefit to everybody. I wanted to give something back, maybe give a little bit more access to me on a regular basis, something I can check and kind of, be interactive with versus I have a very busy schedule, but maybe I can make time for a small group like that. All right, so let's answer some emails and we'll take some phone calls. Phone lines are open. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. Let's go ahead and start off with a voicemail first.
Hi, Jeff and the Podnutz people. I was calling to ask, is it just me or does everybody have this same scenario happen to them? Because we're constantly resolving issues. Clients sometimes see us as Swiss Army knives. We can fix anything. In the past, I've had clients ask me and pay me a billable rate to finish painting a wall, to assemble furniture, and I just had a client who I didn't sell him his phone system, asked me to record his answering service and his menu options. Just found it interesting. Wanted to see if other people were experiencing the same thing or I'm special. Well, I'll listen to the show. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you for that phone call, mystery caller. You can definitely let us know who that was calling in so we can put that on the show. Unless you want to be anonymous, that's fine. Yeah, as far as I don't think you're special. I think a lot of people, they expect, it's weird for our industry of what is expected out of us. A lot of times we are in there, and I was thinking back to when I was installing some network equipment on a wall in basically a house that was turned into a construction office. And so they had it on a rickety shelf. I took the shelf out. So I basically had to do a little bit of remodeling. Now, I covered the holes up that were already there from the shelf and all that kind of stuff, just so that they didn't have these gaping holes in the wall. So I think in a lot of respects, we kind of are a jack of all trades when it comes to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're already in there, putting screws in there, tightening stuff down, taking stuff apart, I think it's almost expected that we know how to do that stuff anyways. So people will, hey, you're already here. I don't mind paying your hourly rate, whatever that is. Here's what I want you to do. I don't know that I would turn any of that away. Yeah, you want me to paint for my hourly rate? Absolutely. Because as a painter, I might charge a little bit less.
Yeah.
But as a tech that's being paid to paint, absolutely.
I charged our full hourly rate to paint 2 weeks ago because we weren't really painting like walls, but we had to put up a board, to mount the equipment to, and it had to be painted to match the office, and so yeah, we were out there painting, and like you said, we're mounting stuff, so that means we have to physically have tools. I have a lot of just growing up, I know you've worked on cars a lot, Jeff, so like you're kind of the same way. Like, I'm a mechanical person. I can do some basic carpentry. I can mechanically fix, cars and things like that. Like, I have tools. I can weld. I'm a certified welder. I can do stuff. So I do stuff because it comes up. And so customers are like, and we have a personal relationship too. So people ask me we've done a lot of not networking IT stuff, and we've built full RAM. Like, yeah, I will do whatever you want, but I'm just going to bill you my normal rate. I'm not going to give you a discount, because if you wanted a painter to do it, you could hire a painter. You want me to do it for a reason. I'm not going to not, because I could go do tech stuff and bill that rate. So I just understand, you're on the clock. Ask me to do whatever you want. I'll help you move. I don't care. But I have also found that over time, as my skill set has improved, my professionalism has improved. I've gotten older. I don't look like I'm 20 anymore. Still look like I'm younger than I am, but I look a little older. I feel like people sort of have leveled up their respect in a way, and they don't ask me to do menial tasks as much. Not that I think anything's below me, but I do kind of notice that people don't ask me to move boxes anymore. You know, they ask me to set up their network. And that's, you know, kind of something that comes with time, I guess, and experience. And just getting to know people and them respecting that I am valuable for the reasons that I'm valuable, and not just also I charge more. That's probably part of it too. I charge a lot more an hour than I used to.
I was going to say that's probably a bigger factor than anything else. Because again, I can be bought, people. I can. Everybody has a price, and I have one too.
And it's on this invoice right here. This is the price.
Here's my price. Not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and answer an email. Let's see. This says, "Hey, Jeff, got this email from my bank today. Dear member, early in the morning on Tuesday, October 17th, we are removing the random code officially known as CAPTCHA used when members log into internet banking. Our decision to remove the random code is to make it easier for you to do business with and to improve your overall experience while still maintaining a secure environment for you to take care of your financial needs. Random codes are used as a technique to distinguish between humans and computers. We will utilize multi-factor authentication that requires more than one method of authentication to verify your identity, such as passwords, security questions, personal security images, and device registration. If you have any questions related to this or any other service, please contact blah, 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 or stop by one of our offices to speak with a representative. Thank you, Member Services." This was my reply. Not a good move. Speaking as an experienced IT professional, the more layers of protection you have, the better. The chance of a breach outweighs complaints of client member experience. The better move would to be educate your client members on the subject of understanding the risk and vulnerabilities that you are safeguarding your infrastructure against, and how the extra time it takes to type in a small code to log in is essential to safeguard their personal information. In this day and age, with new ransomware growing rapid and hackers getting smarter, dropping protection solutions is a bad idea. What do you guys think about this? Larry Small from LS Computer Systems. Thank you for the email, Larry. And I will say, I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think CAPTCHA has been kind of stupid, to be honest with you. It really is made for keeping bots out. Now, where things like CAPTCHA make sense to me would be in, let's say, a forum, which people still use those. And so in a forum, you might have something where if you're not logged in and you're trying to look or search for certain information on a forum, instead of having a computer system or a robot basically go in there and search, they've got to put in a CAPTCHA every time. Now, if you're logged into the forum and you've already signed up and you've already been accepted, you don't have to go through that process. So in that sense, it makes sense. CAPTCHA is frustrating because it has been broken from day one. They went from trying to put stuff in that most people couldn't read anyways. They were like, what does that say? I can't even read those letters. To now they have this thing where it comes up and click on all the mailboxes or click on all the apartment buildings. And those are not always exactly clear. So when it comes to two-factor authentication, I think that is key. And a lot of people have used different apps and things to be able to do that. Now, I did until I almost locked myself out one time when my phone died and I had to go replace my phone and didn't have Google Authenticator on another device. Now there are several accounts that were hooked up to that I couldn't get into. And I'm like going, okay, now what do I do? So I went back to the old tried and true, and it's very easy and it makes sense and it's never going away as far as I'm concerned. And that's text messaging. And it's free. It's part of your phone package. So now I have the dual authentication. Text me. Now, yes, can somebody go through the process and spoof your phone? And yes, the chances are happening, not very good. But it could happen.
Yep.
If somebody wants in that bad, again, I lock my doors at night just to keep the honest people out. Same thing, I lock my doors in my vehicle in the parking lot to keep honest people out. Criminals If they want in bad enough, they're going to find a way. And
Yes.
a lot of times it's a deterrent also because they're going to go for the low hanging fruit. It's easier for me to go into a house that's unlocked. It's easier for me to get into a car and take stuff when it's unlocked. So yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily my bank doesn't have it. We don't have CAPTCHAs. Now,
No,
do I have dual authentication? Absolutely. And there's several different ways you can do that. The other way would be through security questions, which again, it's a catch-22 because I don't think you can educate people enough either as far as when you're answering security questions, you should come up with a key word that's a bunch of gobbledygook to you, maybe even some sort of passphrase that you're actually answering every security question with. Because the whole thing behind a security question is to make it so that it's something you can remember. What was the street you grew up on? What was your first car? What was your favorite movie? What was your favorite book? All these different things are things that you have a better chance, especially as you get older, to recall. Now, again, not the safest way, and nothing's going to be 100%. And here's the thing as far as I'm not really concerned about hackers as far as getting information. What I'm concerned about is hackers getting the information from unencrypted data. Like, stuff is stolen. There's data stolen all the time that you and me and nobody else knows about. It happens every day. We don't hear about it.
Yep.
Now, when something's going out in the clear or it's unencrypted, because even with a poor encryption, for the most part, and this goes into I was listening to a podcast from people over at IT Pro TV, and they basically were talking about crack and Roca and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, they explained the process that a person would have to go through and the cost that it would cost them to be able to get this information. And it got to the point where if you used a certain authentication code up to a certain amount, that it would take them years and thousands of dollars to be able to do this. Now, could a country agency do that? Yeah, absolutely. But if you think the country agency doesn't already have that information, you're a fool. So just understand that all that stuff is out there anyways for the most part. So a lot of this stuff that's going on with these different hacks, and really, I've said this and said this again, when it comes down to hacking, I'm all about security, but when it comes to hackers, the hackers you see in the movies are not real hackers. There's a probably handfuls of people that can actually write and break code in the world. Most of these people are just using known vulnerabilities or vulnerabilities that were found from somebody else and buying a $50 kit from some other country to be able to break into this. It's not, a lot of it's not hard. Go back to, script kiddies or whatever you want to call it. But it's not as nefarious as everybody thinks. It's not, you don't have, Mr. Robot sitting there. And again, the one thing I did like about Mr. Robot when I was watching it, for those that don't know, it's a TV show that's out there, but
great show. Everyone should watch that show.
Yeah. And one of the things I liked is, in order to hack the heating and cooling system in the building to adjust the temperature, what did he have to have? Had to actually have access to the building.
Yeah.
Which 9 times out of 10 is the case.
And they were talking about in that scene, because I just rewatched that episode, they were looking at the scope and the plans of this building and going like, how this is an impenetrable building. It's designed with no vulnerabilities. And it was a photograph of the front, and there were 6 security guards walking around. He said, I see 6 vulnerabilities walking around. You're like, yep, exactly. People will always be your vulnerability, and you have to have physical access. He didn't just like send out a probe, and no, they had to come up with a plan. And so if someone's going to take that kind of effort, it's probably not going to be for me.
Yeah.
But I still secure my stuff as much as I can.
Absolutely. And Larry, like I said, as far as, yes, I think you have to, dual authentication is a minimum. I think for any accounts that you can turn that on, especially banking and whatnot, I think that's the way to go. I think even my banking app might have a PIN code that it requires me to put in when I open the app. I'm not sure if it's every time, but again, lock your phones down, all that kind of stuff, especially if you have those apps on there.
Yeah. But as far as the CAPTCHAs go, Google bought reCAPTCHA a long time ago, and then they used it to let humans decode images that they couldn't decipher. They collected as much of that data as they needed to for that experiment, whatever. But in the background now, CAPTCHAs don't need the text input for the most part. They've collected enough heuristic data on you as you're using your computer, probably because you're using Chrome and whatever. And like they go, yeah, you're you. We get you. Like you're moving the mouse the way that you normally move your mouse and stuff. And like whatever it is their algorithm is doing, they know you're a human. And so you'll notice a lot of CAPTCHAs these days are rarely even asking you for a thing. You might need, and now they're taking it even off the page. It's just code in the background that's checking to see if you're a person, and it only presents itself if it's not sure. So what you're going to notice is that the CAPTCHAs and stuff are going to they're going to be invisible. They're still doing their job, and they're actually doing it better without being visible. That's I think I heard about that on Security Now.
That's a good point, because there is the caption now that it's a checkbox.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm not a robot.
Yep, and that's going to go away.
Okay.
It's just going to be, no, we know you're not a robot. We're not even going to ask, because we know you, because we're Google.
Yeah, if you want to be worried about something,
yeah,
there's something to be worried about. All right. Well, I think that hopefully that gives you what we think about it, Larry. Not saying that that you're wrong for being concerned or anything like that. I think it's something you always want to worry about, security, especially when it comes to your banking and financial information. I just think there are better ways to do it, and I don't know that any of them are going to be 100%. But you just try to stop that low-hanging fruit as best you can. All right, let's before we head on out of here, let me just say a quick note. If you want to sign up to be a guest on the Computer Repair Podcast, you can do that by sending an email to guest@podnutz.com. And when you send your email, you can include a topic that you would like to talk about, which is what Brad did, and that's what got him on the show. He had a very good topic that he wanted to talk about, and this is how we roll. All right, so Brad, if you want to, go ahead and give people one parting thought and let them know where they can find you.
I didn't come up with a parting thought. I used Z-install the other day. It was awesome.
Ooh.
Anyway, it's expensive. And you buy one license for one computer, but if you contact them, they will get you once you've made a purchase, they will give you a link to buy it for, you can buy a tech license and you can buy them in bulk, or you can get 50%, like buy one, get one half off, whatever. So definitely contact their support. Website's terrible. Terrible website. Worst website ever. But the program works really well. So Z-install. And with that, I did have someone reach out to me, and I apologize, I can't remember his name, but I responded back to him. Last time he was asking me about telco commissions and sales. So, and I sent him more information than he ever probably expected to get back. It was a very long email. I will definitely be copying and pasting that email. But yeah, reach out, Brad at TTCScomputerservices.com, or find me on Google+, and that's my username on Google+ as well.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming out, man, and saving my bacon this week.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/Computer Repair Podcast Live. Join in on a conversation by calling in live and hanging out in the chat room. You can also send an email to podnutz@podnutz.com, or you can leave a voicemail, like our mystery caller did, at 1-888-697-0162. We have audio available over at podnutz.com, or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can be notified when the show is live by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast.